budget today, the Chancellor announced that local authorities would be getting £100 million to fill in more potholes. It came as a so-called snow summit took place at Stansted Airport on how to avoid a repeat of the chaos caused by this winter's freezing conditions. The AA says councils in our region should be preparing now if they want to cope with another tough winter.
Now spring's arrived, it's hard to believe it happened. But just a few short weeks ago, the east seemed a barren land of ice and snow.
Salt stocks were declining and supplies were drying up. And we had to make decisions, as I say, daily about which areas to salt and whether we should, in fact, reduce our salting, which we did on a couple of occasions.
So, a snow summit to work out how to cope with any future freezes. And the Snow Summit delegates from councils nationwide have already been told that more should have been done to keep the roads clear.
In a perfect world, of course we should have done more, because roads were not being sorted that should have been sorted. Still, I'm not convinced that we've learned the complete lesson. The authorities need to be planning now to get more stocks out there should we have another nasty winter.
As the freezing days became freezing weeks, salt supplies got so low, the government was effectively rationing it. Delegates were told councils need to learn how to use salt more efficiently.
Some of it doesn't even get on the road. It blows off onto the verges. Some of it doesn't actually clear the ice if it's applied in the wrong way. This is a bit of a science. It's much harder than it looks.
The region's roads are now pockmarked by potholes because of the winter weather. But in today's budget, there was some good news for councils wondering how they're going to repair them.
I'm providing £100 million to pay for repairs to local roads throughout the country and £285 million to pay for improvements in the motorway network, including by expanding capacity by allowing hard shoulder running.
Special guest, a highways expert from Switzerland, where they're used to a bit of snow. And he gave this advice to the public via his interpreter.
He said, firstly, you can start by buying a shovel and clearing in front of your own door, and then get the neighbours to clear in front of the paths, and that everybody takes responsibility.
And it's not a case of if it'll happen again, but when. Gareth George, BBC Look East.
Well, we heard the Chancellor there promising extra money to fix the potholes, but what else was there in today's budget for this region? Our political correspondent Andrew Sinclair is at Westminster. Andrew.
Well, the big announcement today, of course, was the stamp duty cut, but there were other big announcements for our region. Fuel duty, we were talking about this only last night. The tax increase will now be staggered over the year. Small businesses will benefit from increased business rate relief. Remember, most businesses in our region are small businesses. We'll probably also do well out of the green energy plans announced today. More money for wind farms, offshore wind farms in particular, and for the ports that handle the construction traffic. And then there was this big increase in the tax on cider. It's been welcomed by anti-binge drinking campaigners, but the many companies in our region which produce cider are warning they'll have to pass the cost on to the customer.
It's a very big jump in one go, so we're disappointed, but at the same time, with the glass is half full hat on, we realise it could have been a lot worse.
So what are MPs saying down here at Westminster tonight? Well, Labour ones are delighted. They say that this is a budget which they can go out and campaign on.
I think the stamp duty measures were really important because there's lots of first-time buyers in our region. There's, Northampton's a real growth area, and anything that can encourage first-time buyers into the market and help them is going to be very important indeed.
Has it made it easier for you to hold on to your seat, do you think?
Listen, I've always thought my seat as a marginal, and I've always fought with the idea I'm going to win.
Well, the opposition parties are more sceptical. They point out we still have a massive spending deficit, and they question if all these plans will ever really happen.
There's sort of unreality about this, that the government is still handing out sweeties when they can't afford to buy any more sweeties to give away. And one wonders whether these programmes will survive after the general election, whether or not Gordon Brown is still in Downing Street.
The gap between the rich and the poor has widened, and right across our region there are tens of thousands of children in child poverty. And there's nothing in this budget for those child poverty, nothing in this budget for those people who are on council waiting lists, and there's nothing in the budget to deal creditably with the long-term deficits.
Of course, the one thing no one's talking about today is the big spending cuts which will have to be made by whoever wins the next election. So in a sense, we've only really had half a budget today. But for better or for worse, this is the budget which Labour will campaign on in the election. If they win the election, all this will happen. If they don't, a lot of what we've talked about will have all been irrelevant.
Andrew, thank you very much.
Well, still to come tonight, remembering the largest single airborne operation in...
A man has been arrested after a woman's body was found in a freezer at a pub in Norfolk. It was discovered at the Compasses Inn in Snettisham yesterday. The man, who was arrested on the Isle of Wight, is being brought back to Norfolk for questioning. A police officer accused of improperly using CS spray during a man's arrest in Essex won't face prosecution. The Crown Prosecution Service says the level of force used during the incident in Brentwood was reasonable, proportionate and necessary. A second man has been arrested by police investigating a rape in Ipswich. A 17-year-old girl reported being attacked near St Margaret's Church. Another man, who was arrested yesterday, has been released on bail.
Now, if there were problems in your neighbourhood with litter and graffiti, what would you do about it? Well, an estate in Kings Lynn has turned to volunteer street reps to sort things out.
It's had its fair share of problems with antisocial behaviour, but from today there's a new team in town to make the Fairstead estate in Kings Lynn a nicer place to live. The street reps are a group of residents who are volunteering their time to try to make a difference, and they want others to join them.
I think sometimes it's a resident that needs to step up to let people know that we are here, rather than just sitting back and laid back, that you can actually help and get to know people and enjoy stuff.
They've already been working behind the scenes with the Borough Council and other agencies to drive changes through. Within the next couple of weeks, litter bins will be installed, free dog waste bags will be provided at local shops, and today the reps took to the streets to deliver the first community newsletters. It's a scheme fully supported by the police.
This initiative here means that the neighbourhoods are actually working together to help things for themselves. And that's a well-known fact, that where neighbourhoods improve things for themselves, supported by us, then the people that are there causing antisocial behaviour and crime actually get isolated out.
The scheme is about everyone working together. Today, people who live on the estate also gave it the thumbs up.
It gels the community, doesn't it? Because more people know the police officers that are working the beats, and they get to know the street reps.
They are starting to do a lot more things now, which is a lot better for the kids, because the kids do need a lot more to do around here. Keep them out of mischief.
Police say the crime here is low level, but it's hoped that with the street reps on board and funding in place from the council, that things will gradually improve. Janine Machin, BBC Look East, Kings Lynn.
An appeal to raise £3 million to build a new children's hospice has raised more than £50,000 in the first week. East Anglia Children's Hospice has outgrown its existing building in Ipswich. The charity is building a brand new building on a woodland site nearby. More than £7,000 have been donated today alone.